Any luck?
Yeah.
Restart works everywhere.
It is very feeble. Is it only for you?
Is it
It's
feeble?
quite feeble for me as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
How is it now?
Yeah. Now I think it is better.
Fantastic. And
Sure.
yeah, thanks for that kind introduction and this awesome opportunity to speak about some great work that we have done at Revenue Cloud Hyderabad. So let me share my screen. Hope you all can see my screen.
Yeah, Gopal.
Fantastic. So we're going to talk about our own Revenue Cloud baked framework called Vader, and this is something that we have started around 2019 or so, and now it's a matured library. It started as a humble 250-line code base, and then today more than 3 teams are using it in production, and we're going to see what novel approach that this brings to the table for validations of Beam. So first question, why a new framework? So validations are an age-old problem, almost as old as programming itself. And why a new framework today? Because there are already so many existing solutions. That's what we thought. Even when we wanted to start, we started a service, something called payments platform, and we had this requirement to write validations. We got close to some 30, 40 validations, and we thought, okay, this problem must have been solved. Salesforce is an API first. Salesforce core is API first. So somebody must have already had design which we can reuse. So we sort of spoke with people, looked into different modules, and surprisingly, mostly it's just done in if else try catch way, wherein it just is cyclomatically pretty complex to deal with it. Every team has their own design, and then every module has its own way of dealing with bean validations. Especially we have Spring, we use Spring heavily, and we have so many beans across, and we have APIs, we have UIs, and a lot of things. But then we see this as there's a missing gap that needs to be filled, and so we thought of starting a framework. And we have other even requirements like these, wherein we have same validations, but we need to run a different execution strategy per context. What I mean is, for example, if we have same service for UI as well as an API, and on the UI, let us say if customer inputs different values, we want to show all the errors at a time, which is accumulate all the errors, which is wrong with the form. The same service, when used through a backend API, we want to fail fast because of first reasons. But then if we sort of deal with this if else try catch logic, we are not able to just change the execution strategy without changing a lot of code. And we also have no easy way to share validations. We have array of services in our domain, in payments domain and other domains. And one unique feature, and this can be same for many other services as well, is we share the data structure, the payload structure across the services. For example, take a simple example. Think of this as some member class, member JSON payload, which gets unmarshaled into something like a member class, and then you write a member service. You have your validations, etc. And tomorrow you sort of have another service where this member is nested within the payload. And then you ideally don't want to rewrite all your validations for a container service that you write. You should be able to hook all your member validations to this without rewriting or without a lot of pain. And we couldn't find such solution neither in Salesforce nor in any third-party libraries outside. So that led us to think about, hey, also like one more important thing that we thought is, hey, we have all our validations in a cryptdoc. Is there a way we can just translate all these requirements in a readable way into code so that code becomes the first source of truth? And even we can point that code to product managers if they want to know what validations that we are running. So the code should be as readable as that. That idea led us to the inception of this great library called Veda, wherein we all got together and brainstormed and then brought made it alive. So today it's consumed within 3 teams like Rev Hydra, Delphinus, and Centaurus in 3 different domains. So it's already production tested, battle tested, and other things. And we're able to, and all these 3 teams reaped all the benefits of able to extend their validation design very easily. And so now we never had to go back and revisit our design after we are using it. Plus, this particular idea is presented in all these tech talks across the world, in many of the conferences and meetup groups. So, of course, I know what engineers must be thinking in this conference call. Enough of sales pitching. Please show me some code. Even I'm so eager to show you the code. So let's start with one more line. Just in the end, we are so jealous about keeping the dev experience simple. That's our primary goal when we wanted to launch this library. So the adoption rate also increases, and learning curve should be as low as possible. So this is one line that you need to know if you have to use this library. This is a terminal point where you call the library and you get the result back. You just have different combinations of each of these mark variables for your different requirements. So we'll go through them one by one. For example, it starts with the API. We have two APIs, one for non-batch and one for batch. If you have, when I say batch of beans, so a list of beans you can think of, and the one where you just have one bean and have array of validations. And you can have different strategies. For example, you wanted to fail fast the moment you hit a validation failure. So as you run your validations against your beans, you might want to accumulate errors. And when it comes to batch, you might want to fail fast for each of the bean when there's a failure, or want to fail fast for any of it, like all or none. And we support all this single data structure. As I've told, we support single bean or collection of beans. We even go further. We support nested beans, where you have batch of beans having a batch of members, like I've shown in the previous slide, where they share this common data structure. So we can support even the nested advanced use cases. I'll be like brushing up in this talk a bit. And in this talk, I'm going to show a lot of slides. And I'm not a fan of showing code on slides. So if you're sort of, my intention is not to get you familiar with the library right away in this 30-minute talk, but just to get a feel of how this looks like, how the code would look like. And there is a ton of documentation in the repository that we have in git.soma. And I'm going to point you to that. And of course, the slide deck will be shared and the recording will be shared. So you can always go back. So just sit back, relax, don't sort of focus on the code details as I show you code in the slides. So let's start with the bottoms up approach. Let's see how this feels like, wherein if you call the library in the end, what sort of results you get back. So let me start with the simplest one, where you have some validations, you have a bean, and then you want to run all these validations fail fast. So what you get back is an optional of failure. So you might have a failure or you might not have a failure. Simple, right? So, and if you want to accumulate all the errors, you get a list of failures. And it can be empty, of course, if you don't have any failures. Otherwise, it will have some failures. Then when it comes to batch, you have now a problem becomes a little more complicated. So it becomes a 2D problem, wherein you have all your beans and all your validations that need to be run on each bean, each and every bean. For that reason, and there is one more bigger problem that you might, if you're backend batch service REST API, for example, you have some validation failures in your validation layer. But the problem is you can't right away send back an aggregated response from that layer, but then you got to somehow hold on to your failures and go back, hand them over to other layers. And other layers might introduce more failures because of some exceptions, etc., etc. And you can't park these failures someplace, especially when you're crossing boundaries, or you can't split the list into like, hey, these are my valids, these are my invalids. You would lose the order, and you might have to do something to have the order and other things. But for you to remove all the hassles from there, we use a data type called either. And for the batch validations, you would get a written as list of either failure or validation.
Gopal, looks like we lost you. Let's give him a couple of seconds for him to get back.
Hey, I'm extremely sorry. I had a power cut.
No, no problem, Gopal.
Uh,
Continue.
right. Let me share my screen. Hope you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can.
Fantastic. So yeah, I was talking about the either data type that we're using, and is exactly how it reads out. You get a list of eithers. It can either be failure or validatable, and we have used a data type called either from this library. And of course, in this talk, I can't get into the details, but it's just like think of it as an enum. It can either be left or right, and we use the left state to store validation failures and the right state to store the beans. And you can read more about it in this vr.io. And similarly, you might even have a requirement wherein, hey, I have these failures, but I wanted to identify my failures using some identifier. So we even have that mechanism wherein we give back the failures with some sort of pair, wherein, for example, take example of, hey, this is a failure. Give me the failure along with the ID of that particular bean, and you get it back in this way. So tuple is, again, it's like a pair. It's as simple as that. You get pair of both pair T plus failure T. I'll get into all these generics in very shortly. As of now, all I'm trying to do is just to getting you a feel of what you get back, how you use it, and what you get back. And Veda batch. I was showing, like, as you notice, these are all coming from Veda batch. So you might also have a requirement wherein you want to all or none, like fail fast for any of the batch. And in that case, you would get the first failure that you get in the batch. Similarly, the same story for the pair as well. Now, now that you understood, got a feel of the API, end API, how it looks like, let me go zoom a bit into the details. How do you write a validator? How a validator looks like? It surely is not an annotation based, but it's a lambda, Java 8 lambda. It's a simple lambda where you have a bean as an input, and then you do some validations on the bean and give back a failure. And this is how simple it looks like. So one of the simplest validations. So you can go imperative, functional, it doesn't matter, as long as you can even use, if you're not comfortable with Lambda, you can even use anonymous inner classes. So as you can see here, it's just doing some null check and then returning a failure. One thing to notice is this validation failure is not coming from the library, but this is your own failure type, the data type that you define, because that gives you a lot of flexibility, because different consumers will have different needs. For example, the moment it fails, you might want to embed an error into it, error message or an API error code, or you want to do something about your exceptions, etc. So that's left to you. So you can have your own validation failure type. And then if everything is successful, you can return something like none. And again, I'll tell you very shortly how Vader understands that this is none versus this is something that is not successful. And as I just told, consumer is responsible for defining this validation failure class. And you can, as I've told, and embed localized error messages, error codes, etc. And of course, you can go into the documentation to understand more. This is, again, as I keep repeating, I'm just giving you a feel of how it looks like. And this is another validator type that you can use, which works totally on ethers that we just discussed. You get a either as an input, and you can give back an either. And the use or you can say how it can simplify your cyclomatic complexity and reduce. You can write linear programs, but I want to caution you might need some functional programming experience to actually use it. But if you or your team is not comfortable with FP, you can sort of forget about this, because you can run your show entirely with validators. This is entirely for those who are comfortable and want to reap those benefits and powers of functional programming. Okay, now that you understood what are validators and how this Lambda and other things are, and now let's get into another detail. How do you actually pass these validators into the API? So that brings to the last piece of the puzzle, which is config for validation. And what is a config? So now I'm going to give you the entire end-to-end picture, so you actually understand the role of config. So now that you have written your validators like this, these are all dummy validators just for the sake of example. And you can prepare a chain of your validators, put them in a list, probably in the order of cheaper to costliest. And then this is where the config comes in, where it acts as a medium for you to hook your validators and send that to the library API. So this is how the end result would look like. So as you can see, this validation config is something that comes from Vader, and you define the generics on which this is working, the bean that is under validation, and your failure type, which is now you're assigning uh, this failure T, sorry, yeah, this validatable T and failure T, you're just defining in that. And you have a DSL method called with validators, where you can provide your chain of validators along with what do you mean by success for your validator. So this is where Vader understands, if you return me this, hey, I'll understand that your validation is successful. If you return me anything else, then of course it's a failure for me. And then you pass your validation config into the validate and fail fast method, these APIs as we just discussed. And as per your execution requirement, you get back a result. As simple as that. And same story with validate VTRs. You have a list of validators, you prepare a chain, and you have another DSL method called with validator ETRs. And this is just a builder pattern. I'm just calling DSL as a better way to say it. And then you just invoke your API. So config does more than hooking validators. So why is there some different mechanism? You can just send a list of validators to the API, right? Why does config exist in between? Because it does more than just hooking validators. It has a lot of built-in plug-and-play validators, and we're going to see just how much fun they are and how much work they'll reduce for you as you write your validations. So the first one, I want to show you this configure all mandatory fields. I know teams who write a lot of functions just to do null checks or empty checks and all this. Now you really can get away from writing all that code and have all your mandatory fields listed in one place in the config with this particular DSL method called should have fields of fail with function. And you can just provide one function, one single function as an argument, which gets invoked if one of these fields are missing. And you can give a close look as I share the slide deck, close look at how this looks like. But in the end, it's as simple as it. Just list out all your fields. The fields can be of any data type. It can be list, or it can be string, it can be int, anything. And we have mandatory field checks for all of these data types. And second one, strict SFID field validations. Now, this is a big debate where how do you validate an SFID? We have multiple APIs across Salesforce core, but we took a standardized approach. And now, if you just pass the entity info, like for example, if it's account, if you want to validate an account ID, you can pass the entity ID info, and we do strict validation, stricter even to the point of validating the prefix. Hey, is the not just a length check or just checking that there's a valid SFID, but is it a valid account ID? And then that goes same with other entities as well. So that way you can really forget about validating all those entities and using different APIs across different for your different ID validations. And next one is multi-filter conditions to handle duplicates in batch. Now, for your batch, if you're having a batch API, you might want to handle duplicates even before getting into validating them. And that's a lot of logic actually. And especially if you don't want to lose the order, for example, you might want to return back the response in the same order that is given. So that's a lot of work because you have to maintain indexes and other things. It's as simple as in using Vader, it's as simple as this, where you can configure the fields on which you want to compare the duplication. And then this goes this is a multi-filter. What I mean is, first of all, we take a single pass and filter out all the duplicate ones which are having same ID one. And then this list goes into another pass, and then again, all the ID twos will be filtered out. And so it goes on. And when this ID2 is happening, we also consider the ones which are filtered out before, because if let us say, take an example, there are 3 beans, and this has same ID1, this and this has same ID2, all 3 are invalid. So that way we handle a complex algorithm in the background, so you can just tap in with the simple config. And the next one is min-max batch size. So we have a single place to have all these maximum batch sizes. And this even goes further to have a combination of batches. For example, you might have 2 lists and you wanted to have a count on having these 2 lists should not together should not exceed this maximum, or there should be minimum this batch size. So we provide such advanced validations as well. And as I'm showing you in bits and pieces, these are all like they can be all put in under same validation config. I'm going to show you very shortly. And the last one is my specs, my favorite feature, wherein you can write validations which are close to plain English. For example, as you can see, as you can literally read and understand what's happening here. And we have so many specs for such combinations of different fields. And you don't have to write any code. Even this matcher is on or before is coming from Vader. There are some built-in matchers in Vader itself. And this is as simple as that. If this doesn't work, just throw me this failure. And you can configure all your specs like this using specify, and then you give all the list of specs in that. And as I've told, you can, I was showing you in bits and pieces, but you can have all these configurations under one umbrella, wherein you can just define these things one after the other. And this sort of this makes your configuration and all your validation requirements to be at one single place. So, and the best part is you don't need to write tests for any of this built-in validators that I've shown you, or the configuration orchestration, because all of it is done behind the scenes, where we have a lot of tests, a lot of unit tests guarding these algorithms that we run. And you as a consumer are just filling in the blanks in the template while you provide me a config. So you can think of config as types of XML. For example, in our core, we don't sort of we don't write DDL for our entities, right? We provide an XML with filling up all, this is my field one, this is my field two, this is Y, and platform takes care of generating everything for you in the backend. The same concept applies here. You don't write any code, you sort of just fill in the gaps, and it's type safe, which is better than just writing XML or plain English, right? Because type safety also gives you extra layer of protection where your types are actually aligning. So that way, you sort of reap a lot of benefits, almost like you can get a 8-pointer story for free if you're going with this configuration based validation. And as I promised, we also deal with nested conditions. These are a little complex. I'm not going to get into details in this call, but then I'm going to show you the most nested algorithm or most nested configuration that we have is batch of batch, wherein, hey, we have batch of beans, and then each batch contains another batch member like this, as the diagram shows. And believe me, there are teams which have this, you might think, who will have such a complex data structure. We have teams within our Revenue Cloud who has this, and this caters them and gives them flexibility and ease in terms of validating. Now this becomes a tree problem if you understand. You can you go level order, like you sort of validate all your containers and get back go members, especially if you have all or none approach. You sort of have to find a right way to validate them, and you would need a lot of code. You would need an algorithm, literally a tree parsing algorithm, and which is all you get it for free from the library. It's all abstracted out for you, and you can just tap in with the simple config, as simple as that. And config based validation has a lot of perks as I speak, and I'm not throwing the jargon just like randomly here, but all of this is explained in the documentation, which I'm going to show you very shortly. And the ones I like is the low learning curve, wherein you see uniform patterns across as you deal with the batch or non-batch or nested batch or anything. It's the same pattern everywhere. And you would have just one line that you need to remember in the end to interact with the library. And that's all. You sort of get it done. And other things like flexibility, extensibility, all of these testability is very important. Like literally one way it sort of takes away a lot of tests for you. Second, even the lambdas or validators you write, they're 100% unit testable. So that sort of it force fits you to think that I need to write my validations in loose coupled functions, where I just focus on validating one thing at a time, and then that's how I can even test one thing at a time. And the complexity part now has reduced a lot. We even have metrics on how much complexity is reduced. First of all this orchestration is taken out for you, and that's 0. And then the validators, now you wouldn't write an if else try catch nested blocks, which sort of spikes up a lot of complexity, cognitive complexity. And this framework forces you to think your validation logic in a different way, such that the complexity is a lot less. And I want to conclude saying that Vader is not for some advanced validation requirements. It even makes a simple one simpler. So even if you have 5 or 6 validations, I promise you can get rid of a lot of boilerplate code or tests if you use Vader. So, and currently the current applications are, I just wanted to give you the current applications because you get a feel of where you can use it. We are using extensively in Connect REST API validations. Even S-object validation hooks can use this. And F-test, if you want to validate something in your F-test, you can use this. And but one point is it's generic. It's not tied to consumer implementation. Literally, even if you have an Android app, you can use this if you have beans to validate. And it's currently stable, and as I told, is production proven, used by production, and actively maintained by Rev Delphinus team. So we are open to taking your PRs, sorry, the requests, and if you have unique requests or use cases that can be put in the framework, we would love to do it, and that's how we even think the library grows. But then, how do you trust its stability and security? Don't take my word. We have a SonarQube integration for it. I'm going to show you very shortly. And this slide deck has a link for a dashboard as well, where we monitor the test coverage, security metrics, and other things. And all the libraries used within this library are all pre-approved in Salesforce. We sort of take security a lot seriously because we are working in payments world. So it's very important for us. And here is where you can find this this awesome library code. Entire code, it's a multi-module Gradle project, and it's super fun to clone and play around. All of the examples that I've shown you now are part of unit tests that that are written, and then you can run them in your local as well to just get a feel of how it works. And you can write your own unit tests as well. And we would love to collab and contribute if you have more things that you want to add to this library. We have a big backlog as well that we want to contribute. And the very reason why we have this community of open source is we want to collab and have engineers of similar mindset together. So I would love to take any contributions, and of course we can talk about how we can plan and other things. And that said, we even have a great community just started by Vineet and other guys. And so always welcome to join this group where we can brainstorm. If you're bored of your work, just come and hang out here. We can sort of think about great ideas and surely materialize them as well. And in the end, thanks a lot. And I would love to hear your feedback. And then if you have any doubts, please feel free to approach me on Slack. And yep, that's it from my side. And as I promised, I wanted to also show you where the repository is and other things. So this is the entire repository. It has tons of documentation currently available. I can literally publish a book out of all this documentation. So you can read all of this here. And then this is the contribution doc.
Gopal,
if you want to
we can't see
is
that.
It not showing? Oh, is it? Let me put it in. Can you see it now?
Not yet.
Stop one. Stop share. Oh, I'm not sharing it. Right. Yeah. This is the documentation. This is the repo link. It's on git.soma, and it's a multi-module Gradle project, and it's very easy to clone in your local. And I have a ton of documentation. Yeah, I mean, it takes some time for you to go through the documentation because there's so much, but then that's very detailed at the same time. And you can find the link to contribute here. You can click on this link and you'll find all the instructions. I'm not on VPN, I'm sorry. And then you can, these are perks that I was talking about. You can go in detail about why this is helpful, all the factors that it sort of helps you do when you use it. And we have other ways as well, a few things that I could not explain within this time. Yep, that's it from me. I'm stopping the share. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Gopal. If you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself or use the chat option. In the meantime, please join us in the Slack channel, which Gopal mentioned, we already have 26 members joining in. And then that's the same count with the open source contribution sign up form also. Would request all of you to be part of that open source contribution sign up form also. Before we wrap up, any questions to Gopal? I'm assuming there is no question. So feel free to reach out to Gopal or the TPL APAC team. If you have any questions, we will route it. So we have started a poll in the Zoom poll active now. Please share your feedbacks, which will really help us to improve in the coming days. As we mentioned, this is just the beginning. Gopal has kicked off the open source week with the talk. We have a lot more exciting things coming up in the coming days. Thank you so much, Gopal, for having this great talk, and would be happy to have you in the leaders list of open source community. And Gopal is available in the Slack in the community also. Feel free to get in touch with Gopal.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity, and yeah, would love to meet you all. Bye-bye.
So thanks, Gopal. Thanks, Ashish, who kicked it off. Thanks, Bobby. Thanks, everyone who have joined with us. Thanks for all the signups and joining in the Slack community. Tomorrow we have talks from HBase and Phoenix team, and then the open source contribution Jira's will be published by tomorrow. Please join us tomorrow, same time, 11 a.m. See you then. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.